Good morning. Today we're going to derive the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is used to find the x-intercepts, or the roots of a quadratic equation. And what I love about this derivation is that we're going to derive this equation simply by completing the square. We're going to start with our quadratic equation in standard form. So we have ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Now, like I said before, this entire derivation is just us completing the square. The first step is to isolate our constant, c. So I'm going to move it to the right side of the equation. Now, looking at the left side of the equation, we want to factor out the coefficient a. And when we do that, we're left with this equation. The next step in completing the square is to take the b coefficient, and we're going to divide it by 2 and then square it. In our case, the coefficient is b divided by a, which we will divide by 2 and then square. And when we do that, we get b squared divided by 4a squared. And we are going to take that term and we're going to add it to both sides of our equation. Looking at the left side of our equation, we are going to add that term within our brackets. Now, looking at the right side of our equation, we will also add the term, but remember to multiply it by the coefficient a. Look at the left side of the equation. The term we added within the brackets would be multiplied by the coefficient a. So on the right side, the term that we add has to be multiplied by the coefficient a. The next step is to just simplify the right side of the equation, so I will cancel out one of our a variables, leaving us with b squared over 4a. And now in the next step, we're going to do two things. Let's start with the left side of our equation. We want to factor the quadratic that is within those brackets. If we do that, we get a times x plus b over 2a squared. And now I want you to prove that x plus b over 2a squared is equal to the quadratic that we had in those brackets. Now looking at the right side of our equation, all we need to do is find a common denominator so we can combine these terms. When we do that, we get negative 4ac plus b squared divided by 4a. And now at this point, we're done completing the square. The next step is to isolate for x. So we want to solve for the x variable. The first thing we need to do in order to isolate for x is remove the a coefficient from the left side of the equation. When I do that, I'm left with x plus b over 2a squared is equal to negative 4ac plus b squared divided by 4a squared. And now look at the numerator on the right side. We have negative 4ac plus b squared. I'm just going to rewrite this as b squared minus 4ac because we're used to seeing it this way. Now looking at our equation, we still want to isolate for the variable x, but we have to get rid of that power of 2. In order to do this, we take the square root of both sides. But remember to add the plus or minus in front of the square root. We have to add this to indicate the two possible solutions to this equation. Now, after we take the square root, we're left with this equation. Now, I want you to look at the denominator on the right-hand side of the equation. We know what the square root of 4a squared is. That's just 2a. So let's replace the denominator with 2a. And now we're so close. We only have one more term that we need to move to the right-hand side in order to isolate for the variable x. So let's subtract b over 2a, and that would leave us with this equation. And notice, we've got two terms here that both have the exact same denominator. So let's combine them into one fraction. And when we do that, we get this equation. But let me rewrite this by just moving that negative b term. And then you can see we get x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. And that is the quadratic formula. And we derived it by simply completing the square and then solving for the variable x. Isn't that so cool? I use the quadratic equation all the time, and I didn't even realize that we could derive it using skills that I learned in grade 10 math. I hope you found this just as interesting, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching.